Miguel, how are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Hey, thanks for taking a few minutes and kind of letting the world kind of get to know what you're doing. So, if you don't mind starting, why don't you start with who you are, where you're from, and how long that you've been in the real estate business?
Yeah, so of course, my name's Miguel Freitas. I'm licensed out in London, Ontario, Canada. So if you guys don't know where that is, if you go down the 401, we're smack dab in the middle of Toronto and Detroit. I've been licensed since April 2022. So that is in Canada, at least that is right when the market shifted. So I only know the shifted market. And yeah, it's been well. And this is Simon swimming around the background, my turtle. So
Uh huh.
yeah.
Uh huh. I
He's
get to
got a
see
bit of
him
a
every week.
yeah.
I love it. Well, and I was looking back in my notes today. You and I actually started on July 7th of 2023.
It was July. I couldn't remember because I know it's one event was August, the other one was June, and the other one was July. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. So it would have been like, shortly after the retreat,
that's right.
that we started. So, well, good. So you're now 2 years in the business, right? We just kind of hit the 2 year threshold.
Yeah, this is so 2024 will be my second full calendar year in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what were some of your challenges with real estate?
Challenges, yeah, good question. So, of course, I'm a solo realtor. So building up the business, especially since I had no sales background, building up my business from the ground up was definitely a challenge for sure, like anyone else would experience. My biggest thing I would say was getting started was just finding those qualified leads. Here in Canada, at least, we don't have those warm, hot leads. It's kind of just go out and talk to a number of people and find them. And I would say that's definitely the biggest challenge I had, and more or less just kind of managing my time because now I'm not working a 9 to 5. I am now a business owner and really delegating my time to where it needs to be. That was definitely the biggest challenge I had before coaching.
I love that.
Yeah,
Primarily, what is your source of business?
primarily door knocking. Um,
Primarily door knocking.
yeah,
By the way, a few weeks ago, you sent me a video, and
right,
you send me. By the way, you send me videos all the time because you're very accountable. And your
right,
video was like this snowstorm that's going on, almost
yeah,
like a blizzard, and
mm,
you're out knocking on doors. And I posted to Facebook. I used one of Jeff's lines, which is, you know, what, how bad do you want it, right? I mean,
yeah,
how bad do you want it? And here you are, what's the price you're willing to pay, right? Here you are knocking on doors,
yeah.
and you shared the results that day with me. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was crazy because I went out and it really wasn't safe for me to be out because it just kept snowing. Like we got like 3 feet of snow here, and my open rate was I'd have to pull the exact numbers back up, but I specifically remember that I was out knocking for about 5 hours. I had a break in between, and my open rate was 70%. So 70% of the people I knocked on opened the door. Like
And why do you think that is?
well, they're more curious because no one else is actually knocking on their door. And
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people were home because no one was driving anywhere. So for me, I seen that as an absolute opportunity to just get out there and get face to face with potential homeowners, which during that session, I got two very good leads, like very solid leads out of that session. So,
Yeah, I think if I remember the numbers, you had 53 door knocks that day,
right.
and I'm trying to remember the
It was,
number,
yeah,
and then like
yeah,
six ads
30,
for the database.
30 something contacts, whatever 70, it was exactly 70%, like 69.8 something percent. So, yeah, crazy how many people open the door, but yeah, that'll be pretty typical when you go door knocking on days like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So what were your units sold before coaching?
Yeah, before coaching, so for 2023, obviously you and I got started at the midway point, like month 7. At that point, I had 7 units closed, and that was for 3.1 million, 7 units closed for 2023 at that time.
Okay. And since that point,
Since that point, so I closed the year. That was my 2023 was my first calendar year. I closed that out at 20 ends for 10 million. This year, I've already closed out, sold and closed 42 ends for right around 20, so I'm at 19.3 million. I'm anticipating to close out the year at 44, 45 units, so for just north of 20 million.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, how has one-on-one coaching helped you with that?
Yeah, so big credits to Larry, right? I do. So being in Canada, obviously, I have to have like a bit of a different approach. Um, so I think one of our first calls, it was definitely one of our first calls. You're like, okay, you're really good at. No one knows Larry is my one-on-one coach, so Larry is very good at just kind of listening and just kind of figuring out where that hole is in my business. So one of our first calls, he was like, "You should speak to a guy named Troy Chase, who's part of the Glover U program." So I spoke with him, and he set me up on, got me on the idea of hiring food trucks for my open house, which I've done ever since, and that has helped a lot. But you know, that and my Monday newsletters, which has really helped my database conversion a lot. This has all came from ideas from that have stemmed from Larry. That and also we can touch on later where I've been door knocking around expireds as well. It's also helped stem from Larry as well. So all these new sources, it's all been a part of the one-on-one coaching, but it's also the accountability piece as well. So
I love
yeah,
that. And I always say, I mean, you as a coaching client are, like I said early on, you're very, very accountable. Like I
right,
can, you and I can talk on a call and we're done, and I can promise there's not been a call in the last hour or last year and a half, that you haven't gone right into, accomplishing the things that we talked about. So,
100%.
yeah, it really is you. So in addition to, well, let me ask this question. How many Glover events have you attended?
Well, it's two. It would have been two last year. It would have been. Let me see. 2022. It was the not the summit, the one in Traverse, the retreat. So that
Yeah.
was my first ever real estate event, and that going to the Glover event in 2022 that changed everything for me, mindset, everything. Then in 2023, I went to the two, and then this year was the one. Right, so I've been to five. I would have been to five. Yeah,
Events.
yeah.
Good. Good. And have you been in any of the group coaching programs yet?
Yeah, I started with so right after I did the first events in 2022, started with Justin Ford's prospecting boot camp. Shout out to Justin, that's an excellent program, especially if you need help prospecting. The next one was Listing Mastery. That's hosted by Jeff himself. That is like again, I'm still using stuff to this day. That's really helping me convert my listings. Excellent program as well. And then I also did the buyer mastery after that. So, and I've also done what's it called? SLS. It's not SLS anymore, right? It's Sales Rocket.
Sales Rocket. Yeah.
Yeah, I did Sales Rocket, which is really good. It literally feels like Jeff's speaking to you. Like that's how good it is. But yeah, the buyer mastery program really helped me implement the systems like ALM, the buyer power checklist. Like that's all been a really good benefit, and just to learn to just be super honest with buyers and help guide them to a correct decision. Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
You said early on your number one source of business again is what?
Door knocking. Yeah.
Door knocking. And you and I were going over some of your numbers with door knocking, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when you were out and you were just knocking a bunch of doors, there was a little bit of a difference when all of a sudden you ran the numbers and you found out you were more effective during around expireds. Tell me what you did and what changed that for your business.
Yeah. So the start of 2024, like literally right off the bat, I started knocking around expireds. So that has been really good for me. Um, the first, I think it was the first session I knocked on this, I found a nurture that ended up turning that listing turned into six separate transactions this year. But the knocking around them, I think it was out of my first three knocking sessions. In the two out of the three, I found immediate listings, and which one of them I found the buyer double ended, and the other one, which was directly after that, was a 700 and what $75,000 listing. which also led to another transaction. So yeah, but that was immediate. Like that was the most immediate I've ever seen business. And yeah, the one I said that I found the buyer, I knocked on his door 6 p.m. on a Friday night. He brought me over the next day. Within 20 hours, I had a signed listing agreement. So it's been solid.
I love that. Tell everybody that's not from Canada, what's one thing that you guys are not allowed to do,
Yeah, so we cannot directly solicit expired listings.
right?
Um,
Or even call, right? You can't
cannot
call expires.
cannot call expired listings. So the way I got to work around it is Jeff teaches you go around you go around the neighborhood, right? So you go to where you know there are some. And what I'll do is I'll go and I'll hit the street. So if I see a street now, if the street has like over 50 homes, I really don't want to delegate too much time to that specific area. I kind of want to hit the block. So I'll go around there and then, let's say I do hit them. It's just another conversation I'm having with someone else that I meet at the door. Like, do you have any plans to buy, invest, sell? And then if they bring it up, I know that they are actually interested, right? So, but I don't directly ever ask them the question. It's but again, that's the threshold, right? I know it's going to take me longer to get fast transactions, but that is definitely in Canada, from my understanding, that is the fastest way to get business right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your door count number actually knocked goes down,
Yes.
but your consistency and your conversion actually goes up.
That's 100% it. Yeah.
Right.
So I know my contacts will go down typically. I've adjusted my contact goal for the year going in, mainly because when I do these, I'm going to drive, I'm going to map out a bunch around the city from a certain time span, and I'm going to drive to those locations. I'll hit the block, and then I'll drive to the next. So there might be times where I have like a 20, 25-minute drive time because I'm in a bigger city. So traffic might be pretty hectic. Like we have I think over 500,000 people in London. So it can sometimes traffic can delay that, but I do know that although my contacts are down, I'm finding a lot more solid opportunities that are going to get me the now business as opposed to just nurturing them and hoping they come back in 6 months or a year plus.
I remember when I said to you one day, and you and I were looking at those numbers, and I asked the question something about your conversion, percentage wise, and it was so funny because you on the camera, your eyes came on, and you were like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I'm really good, at the doors. Number one, I'm really good, when it's around that kind of that expired area, because it's not only just been that expired listing that you picked up, you've actually picked up more that were around that, correct?
Yes, so that's the idea. So at this point, I've eliminated going to a farm area. My idea is I want everyone in London to know my name. And by doing this, it helps me do that. So when I go down the street, I'm trying to be a bit more efficient with my time where if they express, oh, I'm not interested, I kind of just go, right? But I do my best to get their information still, right? If it's not the expired, like someone else. So I recently did my first $1 million sale. It was for 1,500,000. It was knocking around expired. They said they were looking for a home for about like 2 or 3 years with their agent, just didn't know if it was right. Consulted them, and in 6 weeks, I brought them to a brand new build they bought cash for 1.5 million in 6 weeks, and this wasn't even the expired. So, yeah, I've gotten a lot of sales around from that. So it's kind of been a hybrid of actually going to the expired, but also making little farms as I go.
I
So,
love that.
yeah,
So for somebody listening or watching this today, what would you suggest that they implement in their business?
yeah. So this could be if you're brand new or if you're and I can tell a bit about my story, or if you're experienced and maybe you're looking for some help, or just want to always look to get better, right? As a realtor, you should always be looking to get better. Number one, if like your main job is to just go talk to people and find new business like that. If you can just fill in all your unanswered time with just talking to people and delegate all the time to finding new business, you'll do well, right? You'll by default open up new opportunities. The second portion of that is scripts and role play. So for me personally, I do believe that scripts and role play, and again, Glover has incredible that's these scripts you need to know, right? But your scripts and role play are so important because it's the confidence, right? So the better confidence you have, the more the consumer sees you as a professional. So the way I went about it when I started, I quit my full-time job. I was in the trades. I had about a 5 month gap because our schooling takes quite a bit. It took me 5.5 months to do my schooling. Between doing my schooling, and I would also do 3 hours a day of just scripts and role play before I got my license because I had no sales background. So I knew by doing that and talking to people, it would just by default set me up for success. So yeah, scripts and role play. Find as many opportunities as possible. Just go talk to people. But
How early, it's great. How early would you suggest somebody get a one-on-one coach?
yeah, great question. So obviously it depends where you're at in your business. For me, it would be I would probably do the group coaching first for sure. That's the way I went about it. I did some group coaching and then I went to one-on-one. Um, but I mean, sooner the better, truthfully, because it holds you accountable.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So, what are you going to close? We're down the end of 2024 here, but what are you going to end up closing deals this year? What's that number look like? Again,
Closing. So I'll have under contract. With a mix of closing, I'll have about 45 ends. What
okay,
I'm actually gonna close out, or here in Canada, firm to close, um, or firm sales will end up being about 42. Yeah,
I love that. I
yeah,
love it. And then you got your business plan to me real early, right? You were one of the early ones getting the business plan. So
yeah.
your business goals then for next year are what?
Yeah, 100 sales. So my
100 sales.
goal is to, um, I'm trying to get to 85% conversion on, and I'm already around that. Like I'm close to a 90% on taking listings. But I'm really trying to improve actually getting, and everyone has these struggles, right? Getting listings sold, right? So I'm trying to get to an 85% conversion. And with the numbers I'll be achieving through my contacts to getting signed contracts, assuming I get an 85% return on those, I will hit 100 sales. So yeah, it's set to 100 with a
I
mix of
love that.
buyers and sellers.
I love that. What has been your return on investment in coaching and in just Glover U in general?
Yeah, it's been good. I think the percentage I have it written out here. I believe the percentage. So I'm up 21 times my investment. So can I say specific numbers around like income made and yeah,
Sure.
so in just on one-on-one coaching, I'd have to go back and see the group, even though group investment's about 1,600 to 2,000. But if I'm just looking at the coaching, I've put about over the years about 25,000 in. Since I started coaching, I've made $535,000 in gross commission sales. So that is up 21 times the amount. So in 18 months, I have made 535 from the 25 I put in. So not bad, eh?
That's awesome. That makes me smile. It
Yeah,
really does. Congratulations. And by the way, I still go back to say it's you doing the hard work,
yeah.
right? I mean that's the great part. So, um, what is one of the goals that you had for 2024 that actually you bumped it up and made it sooner kind of than what you thought because something's going to happen right after the first of the year? What's that?
Yeah, it was hiring a full-time assistant.
Yeah,
So probably um again, business wise, probably the best investment I made. Larry would know. I hired an assistant. Her name's Kara. I want to give a shout out to her. She's been excellent. She's been with me for almost 90 days at this point. I think 60, 70 days, something like that. And she's been really good. So she has a real estate license, everything in place. And yeah, she has been a big help. She's already brought me an additional 2 transactions. So since she has a real estate license, she can help me with showings as well. And she works one on one for me. And it's been yeah, from the bat, it's been saving me time. So a good hire will really, really increase your results for sure. So I
I
want to
love
give a
that.
shout out to her. She's a hard worker.
I love that. And then, so what part of business and life has changed this year for you? You went out and you bought something. What did you buy?
Yeah, I recently, because I'm now past for 2 years, I bought my first house recently. So yeah, that was a big thing for me for sure. This was well, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I think 3 weeks ago,
Yeah,
something like that. So yeah, we bought it's exactly what we were looking for, my partner and I. Because in real estate you gotta wait about 2 years, but one of the reasons I got into real estate was because the market was so nuts and I tried buying a home. I think it was for the better because that got me the idea to get my license. And Meg Hetherington, our leader, shout out to her as well. She's been a big help. She was the one who told me, no, you'll waste money if you do it part time, going it full time. And it's well worth 2 years later. I'm now buying a home stress free. So,
I
yeah.
love that. That is awesome. I
Yeah,
remember when you were telling me that, and then we started working, and I think your goal originally was, maybe sometime next year,
yeah,
and then you started looking at the numbers and you went, well, wait a minute, why not maybe this year, right?
yeah. And it also gives me, in sales, I guess the quote unquote financial pressure to really push to get to that next level, right? Because sometimes you do need that to, obviously don't go crazy with it, but give you that little nudge to be like, okay, now I really got to get the gears going here, right, to hit these numbers, and that'll automatically put you in a position where you need to go be hungry for business, right? So,
Yeah,
so that with a mix of motivation to just be the number one agent in the city, which next year is my goal to be number one. I don't see any thing stopping me to get there next year.
I love that. I love it. By the way, as everybody's listening and watching you out there, how could they help you get there?
Yeah, referrals of course helps. If for whatever reason, now if you're listening or watching this from Canada, London, Ontario, Canada, I will convert your clients to forever clients and they will be well kept. But on top of that too, like just everyone's really positive in this group, right? Everyone's always sharing ideas, and if you guys have any like ideas you want to share, for sure. Like I said, Troy Chase gave me the ice cream idea. That has been a huge add-on for me, and a lot of people know me from that around the city. And yeah, so honestly, implementation of ideas, and of course, referrals are always a good thing. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. So kind of to wrap things up a little bit, once again, anybody listening or watching out there, what advice would you give them?
Hmm. So advice would be, so I'm looking at my vision board right now, which is right in front of me. Um, Make sure you're not so caught up in just really, really block your schedule to where you have your health goals laid out. You should be exercising every day, and making sure that you're protecting your prospecting time every day, right? Or at least the days you can, so you can hit your contact goal. But also make sure you're spending time with family, right? Like be if you're if you're going for a run like I do, I don't have my phone on me, right? I'm planted in that moment. If I'm prospecting, I'll turn my phone on after about an hour and a half or 2 hours and get back to that. I'm planted in what I'm doing. I think having that focus and being planted in what you're doing is really important. But on top of that, it's also just having a sight of your why, right? Where you want to be in the end, and what's driving you to get there. I think that all kind of plays into these. But again, for me, health and fitness is a big thing. That's again, and that will it reflects your health directly reflects your business. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah,
Any last words for anybody out there?
yeah. Whether you're in the States or you're in Canada, like knock on doors. It's honestly the best way to get in front of a real life prospect, and it's also going to build your sales skills, right? That is definitely by far like a way to just build your skill set, and because you're going to face some people that really don't want to deal with you, but it also you handle objections on the fly all the time, and yeah, if you really want to get good at sales, I personally just love sales in general. I watch a bunch of different sales people from different industries. Being at the doors for me, it's weird, but I actually find it freeing to be on the doors because it gives me this is my time. I'm gonna hunt. I'm gonna objection handle. Like this is real life for me, right? It's like I'm in the trenches. So, yeah, go knock on doors. It will just benefit your business entirely. So, yeah,
All right, sir. Well, listen, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that with everybody. That's awesome.
100%. Yeah, glad to.
All right, take care.
Cool. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.